about 2-3 weeks ago, Good Karma came out. It's the latest book. It's called Good Karma, How to Create the Causes of Happiness and Avoid the Causes of Suffering, which of course is what we all want to do, because we all want happiness and not suffering. So, as I usually do for the books, I like to tell this, do two different videos, one telling the story of how the book came about, and then the other doing some reading from the book. So this one's going to be about how the book started. 1975, I went to Kopan Monastery, and then I stayed on after the meditation course, and in the spring of 76, kind of around May, when it's getting really, really hot, the pre-monsoon weather, I started to feel quite ill and very weak, and so weak that I could barely drag myself from the bed to, I don't want to even call it a bathroom, because it wasn't one in those days. It was a hole in the ground with 2 boards across. And at night, you needed to be real careful where you were walking. So it was quite a journey to get there. And what I had was Hep A, which comes from the food and vegetables not being properly washed. So it's, it's a disease of the liver, and it makes you extremely tired. That's the one that makes your eyes yellow, and it makes you angry because it's related with the bile element in Tibetan medicine. So there I was with hepatitis in Nepal. I had a room in what was called Norbelinka in those days. Norbelinka in Tibet was His Holiness's palace. At Kopan, it was this multi-story wood building, and each floor, the floor was just wooden slabs across, so that when the people above you decided to sweep their floor, they didn't need a dustpan because it just fell to the room below. Once in a while you got a little bit in a dustpan. So there I was lying there. I had gone down to Kathmandu to go to a Ayurvedic doctor who gave me some medicine. Western medicine doesn't know what to do with Hep A. So I was resting in Norbelinka. Actually, getting down to the doctor in Kathmandu was easy because it was downhill. Getting up from Kathmandu to Kopan was a bit more difficult because there were a few taxis going, but they were quite expensive. I didn't have much money. Otherwise, we always walked up the hill, but I was so weak I couldn't walk coming back from the doctor. And so there was one friend of mine who carried me on his back up the hill. Yeah, very, very kind. So I was lying in Norbelinka, just like this. And then somebody brought me this book published by the Library of Tibetan Works and Archives called Wheel of Sharp Weapons. It was written by one of Atisha's teachers, or at least attributed to him. His name is Dharma Rakshita. And so I had enough strength to turn the pages lying there. And that was about it. And all of a sudden, I came upon, I think it was verse 9, so it was towards the beginning of the book. And the verse reads, "When my body falls prey to unbearable illness," I'm going, yeah, you're talking to me. "It is the wheel of destructive karma returning on me for injuring the bodies of others. From now on, I will take all sickness upon myself." So it was like, oh, why am I so sick? It's not really the fault of the cook and the kids in the kitchen who didn't wash the vegetables properly. It's the real wheel of destructive karma returning full circle upon me. It's the boomerang effect of our actions. And what did I do sometime in the past, either this life or preceding life, that created this boomerang effect? I injured the bodies of others. So it really stopped me dead in my tracks, because until that time, it was always the fault of somebody else when I had a problem, or the fault of somebody else when I was sick. And here it was saying, no, the others are just cooperative conditions. The real source is my own actions. So it made me reflect, who knows what in the world I did because in previous lives, because they say we've been everything and done everything. So who knows what horrible things I did in previous life. But even in this lifetime, I remember as a child taking great pleasure in swatting flies, thinking, now I'm getting rid of all of them. They won't disturb us anymore. And I remember my parents they didn't like the snails who ate all the grass and flowers in the garden. So I would gather them up and then step on them and squish them. And again, taking great delight, thinking I was doing something good to make the garden look beautiful. And I really had to think about these things, because these were not virtuous actions. They were done out of ignorance, not knowing the difference between virtue and non-virtue, and done with a lot of rejoicing, thinking I was doing something very good. So it really made me stop and think about my own actions this life. And then, like I said, who knows what in the world we did previous lives. We like to look at people who are criminals or terrorists and feel superior to them. I would never do something terrible like that. But when we really look at ourselves, if we were in a dire situation, if we were threatened, who knows what we would do? Would we be able to have a completely calm mind? Or, would all of a sudden we just get angry and take it out on whoever was in front of us, injuring the bodies of others, maybe even killing them? I mean, we don't really know, because we haven't been in some of those situations. So we can't hold ourselves up as superior to other people who have done those actions this life, because they have been in those dangerous situations. So it made me really stop and reflect on my actions. That was one effect it had. And another effect it had was to make me want to practice the Dharma. Because up until then, I was telling myself I should practice the Dharma. I should avoid negative actions. I should create virtue. But should doesn't go terribly far in terms of having a good motivation. Whereas when I was really confronted with, this is a result of my own actions, don't blame the rest of the universe, then I realized, I need to practice the Dharma. I want to practice the Dharma. And by discovering that the real cause of the principal, cause was a karmic cause, then it gave me power over the future. Instead of feeling victimized by the illness because it was due to some random cause or that I couldn't control, or some person that I couldn't control, I realized, hey, it was due to my own actions. And I have some power over my actions, and so by changing my actions, I can change my experience. So it made me really want to practice the Dharma. So this was quite a turning point for me in my Dharma practice. Another effect that the illness had was we got kicked out of Nepal at this just right in the middle of when I was having hep, because the government decided that all the Westerners had been there too long, and so they just said, okay, you got to leave. So I was fortunate enough to travel with the Sangha in those days. This was before I was ordained. And they kind of dragged me across northern India in the pre-monsoon weather. Pre-monsoon in northern India, it's like 45 degrees centigrade, which Fahrenheit is well over 100. In Delhi, you can cook an egg on the hood of a car. It's that hot. So they kind of dragged me across North India and then up into the mountains in Dharamsala. But I really experienced so much the kindness of others, and it had a very strong impact on me, from my friend carrying me up the hill to these people, taking me across India in the monsoon heat, pre-monsoon heat. Really experiencing the kindness of others, because I couldn't really care for myself very well. And so the remedy in the verse, is from now on I will take on the suffering of others. So having experienced the kindness of others so intensely, then it made sense to want to take on their suffering and give them my happiness through doing the taking and giving meditation. Yeah, so the taking and giving meditation, which is explained in the book, helps us increase our love and compassion, and it also is a great method to purify. Yeah? So seeing it as a way to purify at least the tip of the iceberg of some of the negative karma I had created that had become so evident to me through the illness, then I began to do that meditation more, which was also very helpful. So then later on, so that's the founding story. You're going to wonder, well, how did that lead you to write the book? Well, later on, when I found myself in different situations where my teachers sent me out to teach, then one of the texts that I often taught was The Wheel of Sharp Weapons, because I liked it so much and it had helped me so much. So somebody kindly, this I think was taken from the time I taught it here at the Abbey. Sometime, I don't know what year it was, maybe 04, 05. It was very early on. And so I taught it here at the Abbey. The tapes are online, and the tapes are actually much more expanded because I could include a lot of examples in the tapes, whereas when you do a book, you have to really narrow it down because publishers don't like publishing something that's too big. So anyway, somebody transcribed it. A few people read through it. One nun who's now in Australia did it. One of our Anagarikas, two of our Anagarikas read through it, and and helped. And then I went through it again and edited it down yet again. So that's how it came into existence, and it finally got published after many, many years, but it originated in, at least my story originated with it, in 1976.